Olivia Marshall had always believed in building her own dreams. As a successful architect in Seattle, she had designed homes for dozens of families, creating spaces where love could grow and memories could flourish. But she never imagined her own foundation would crumble so completely in a single afternoon. The rain tapped against the windows of Lucas Bennett's downtown apartment, creating a rhythm that matched her anxious heartbeat. Olivia clutched her purse tighter, feeling the weight of the positive pregnancy test inside. 1 year. They had been together for one beautiful year. Lucas, with his gentle hands that saved lives in the operating room and held her like she was precious. Lucas, who talked about their future with such certainty that she had let herself believe in forever. She had rehearsed this moment 100 times, how she would tell him, how his face would light up, how they would laugh and cry and plan their new adventure together. But when Lucas opened the door, Olivia's words died in her throat. Victoria Bennett sat in the living room like a queen on her throne, her designer suit perfectly pressed, her expression carved from ice. The uninvited storm. "Olivia," Victoria said, her voice smooth as silk and twice as dangerous. "How convenient. I was hoping to speak with you." Lucas stood frozen near the door, his face pale. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "Protecting my son." Victoria rose gracefully, her eyes never leaving Olivia. "From people who see him as nothing more than a meal ticket." The words hit like physical blows. Olivia felt her face flush hot, then cold. "Excuse me?" "Oh, do not play innocent with me." Victoria circled closer, each step measured and deliberate. "You think I have not seen your type before. A girl from nowhere, suddenly dating a surgeon from one of Seattle's most prominent medical families? How fortunate for you." Olivia's hands trembled, but she kept her voice steady. "I love Lucas. My career has nothing to do with his family's money." "How noble!" Victoria's laugh was brittle and cruel. "An architect. Yes, I did my research on you, dear. Raised by a single mother, put yourself through state college, clawed your way into a respectable firm. Very impressive. Very calculated." "That is not fair." Olivia looked desperately at Lucas, willing him to intervene. "Lucas, please, tell her she is wrong." But Lucas stood there, his mouth opening and closing without sound. The man who commanded operating rooms with absolute confidence could not find his voice when it mattered most. The moment everything shattered. "You see," Victoria continued, moving between them like a blade, "I have watched women like you chase my sons their entire lives, women who see dollar signs instead of human beings. You probably planned this whole relationship, did you not? Found out where Lucas worked, engineered chance meetings, played the independent woman card while slowly sinking your hooks in." "Stop it!" Olivia's voice cracked. "You do not know anything about me." "I know you come from nothing. I know your mother cleaned houses to put you through school. I know you grew up in a trailer park in Tacoma." Victoria's smile was vicious. "There is no shame in poverty, dear, but there is shame in using it as a weapon to manipulate good-hearted men." The room spun. Every insecurity Olivia had ever buried came rushing back. The years of being looked down on, the classmates who mocked her second-hand clothes, the professors who assumed she was less intelligent because of her accent. She had worked so hard to build a life where those things did not matter anymore. "Lucas!" Olivia turned to him one last time, tears threatening but not falling. She would not give Victoria that satisfaction. "Tell your mother who I really am. Tell her that I never asked you for anything. Tell her that I love you." Lucas's face twisted in agony. "Olivia, But nothing followed. Just silence. The silence that would haunt them both. Olivia had her answer. She straightened her shoulders, lifted her chin, and walked toward the door. Victoria's voice followed her like poison. "That's right, dear. Run along. My son deserves someone from his own world, someone who understands what it means to be a Bennett." The vanishing act. Olivia did not remember calling a cab, did not remember packing her apartment, did not remember the drive to Aunt Rose's farmhouse 3 hours away. She moved through those hours like a ghost, mechanical and hollow. The pregnancy test stayed in her purse, unseen by anyone. She would not give the Bennetts the chance to accuse her of trapping Lucas, would not give Victoria the opportunity to paint her as some desperate woman using a baby to secure her future. If Lucas could not defend her when she was just his girlfriend, how could she trust him to stand up for their child? Aunt Rose asked no questions when Olivia appeared on her doorstep with suitcases and red-rimmed eyes. She simply opened her arms and then opened her home. 7 months of hiding. The countryside was peaceful, all rolling green hills and distant mountains. Olivia tried to lose herself in the beauty, in the quiet, in the simple routine of rural life. She took a leave of absence from her firm, citing personal matters. She changed her phone number. She disappeared. But she could not disappear from her own thoughts. At night, lying in the guest room that had become her sanctuary, Olivia would remember Lucas's face. Not his silence during that terrible afternoon, but his smile when they watched sunsets together, his laugh when she beat him at chess, the way he looked at her like she was his whole world. Had it all been a lie, or had he simply been too weak to fight for what they had? The baby grew inside her, a constant reminder of love and loss tangled together. She talked to him at night, calling him Gabriel in her mind, named after an angel because she needed to believe something good could come from all this pain. "Your daddy is brilliant," she would whisper, one hand on her growing belly. "He saves lives every single day." But he could not save us. The rising danger. By 7 months, the pregnancy had become complicated. Dr. Patterson, the small-town physician who treated Aunt Rose's neighbors, grew increasingly concerned during each checkup. "The placenta is not positioned correctly, Olivia. You need to be near a major hospital, just in case." But Olivia was stubborn. The same determination that had carried her from poverty to success now kept her rooted in her hiding place. She would not go back to Seattle, would not risk running into Lucas, or worse, his mother, would not give anyone the chance to look at her pregnant belly with judgment or pity. Aunt Rose pleaded, "You are putting pride before safety, sweetheart." "Pride is all I have left," Olivia replied, and meant it. But late at night, when Gabriel kicked and rolled inside her, Olivia wondered if she was making a terrible mistake, wondered if her need to protect her dignity was putting her son at risk, wondered if somewhere in Seattle, Lucas ever thought about her at all. She had no way of knowing that 3 hours away, Lucas Bennett lay awake every night, tormented by the same questions, drowning in regret for the words he never said. The pain started just after midnight. Olivia woke from restless sleep with a gasp, her hand flying to her abdomen. This was different from the practice contractions Dr. Patterson had warned her about. This pain was sharp, urgent, accompanied by a wetness that made her heart stop. "Aunt Rose." The word came out as barely a whisper, then louder, panicked. "Aunt Rose!" The bedroom door flew open. Rose took one look at her niece and grabbed the phone. "We are going to the hospital, now." "No." Olivia tried to sit up, but another wave of pain forced her back down. "Not Seattle. Please, anywhere but Seattle." "Sweetheart, the clinic here cannot handle this." Rose was already pulling on her coat, grabbing car keys. "Dr. Patterson said if anything went wrong, you needed a trauma center. Seattle General is 40 minutes away. We do not have a choice." The drive through the dark countryside felt endless. Olivia clutched the door handle, breathing through contractions that came too fast, too strong. Blood soaked through her nightgown. Gabriel moved frantically inside her, as if sensing the danger they were both in. "Hold on, baby." Olivia pressed both hands to her belly, tears streaming down her face. "Just hold on. Mama is going to get you help." But beneath the fear for her son, another terror grew. Seattle General. That was where Lucas worked, where he performed surgeries and saved lives, and probably never thought about the woman he had let walk away. What if she saw him? What if he saw her like this, vulnerable and broken? What if Victoria Bennett somehow found out? "Stop it," Rose said firmly, as if reading her thoughts. "Right now, the only thing that matters is keeping you and that baby alive. Everything else can wait." The emergency call. Dr. Lucas Bennett was in his office reviewing patient charts when his pager screamed to life. Emergency cesarean section, placental abruption, patient critical, OR3, 10 minutes. His body moved on autopilot, the product of years of training. He grabbed his scrub cap, headed for the scrub room, mentally preparing for the procedure ahead. Placental abruption was a nightmare scenario, the placenta separating from the uterine wall before delivery, mother and baby both at extreme risk. Minutes could mean the difference between life and death. Dr. Chen met him outside the OR, her face tense. 32-year-old female, 37 weeks pregnant, massive hemorrhaging, blood pressure dropping. "We need to move fast, Lucas." He nodded, pushing through the doors. The surgical team was already assembled, instruments laid out, lights blazing. The patient was being transferred to the operating table, surrounded by nurses and anesthesiologists working with practiced efficiency. Lucas approached the table, his mind focused entirely on the medical crisis before him. Save the mother, save the baby. Nothing else existed in these moments. This was where he found clarity, where doubt and regret had no place. He looked down at his patient for the first time. The world stopped. Recognition and shock. Olivia! The name escaped his lips before he could stop it. Several team members glanced at him, confused by the break in protocol. But Lucas could not move, could not breathe, could not process what he was seeing. 7 months. 7 months of searching, of calling, of driving to her empty apartment at 3 in the morning, hoping she might return. 7 months of guilt eating him alive. And here she was, unconscious on his operating table, pregnant with a child who could only be his. "Dr. Bennett," Dr. Chen's sharp voice cut through his paralysis. "We do not have time. She is losing too much blood." "The baby," Lucas found his voice, though it sounded strange to his own ears. "How is the fetal heartbeat?" "Dropping. We need to deliver now." Training took over. Years of discipline forced his hands steady, even as his heart shattered. He could fall apart later. Right now, Olivia needed him to be the surgeon, not the man who had failed her. "Scalpel," he said, and his voice was steady. The surgery of a lifetime. Lucas had performed hundreds of cesarean sections. His hands knew the movements by memory. Incision through skin, through fascia, through the uterine wall. Each cut precise, each motion efficient. But never had the stakes felt this high. Never had he operated on someone he loved. Because he did love her, had loved her from their first date when she challenged him to a chess match and won, had loved her when she fell asleep on his shoulder during long movie marathons, had loved her even in his cowardice, even in his silence, even in the 7 months since she disappeared. There, he could see the baby now, the amniotic sac, his son. The thought hit him like lightning. This was his child. Suction, more retraction. His commands were automatic, but his mind reeled. When had she found out? Had she known that day? Is that why she came to his apartment? Had she been about to tell him when his mother attacked her? The guilt was crushing, but he forced it down. Not now. Save them first. Feel everything later. He lifted the baby from Olivia's womb with hands that trembled only slightly. A boy, small but breathing. The neonatal team rushed forward, taking the infant to assess him while Lucas worked to control Olivia's bleeding. "How is he?" Lucas asked, not taking his eyes from his work. "Breathing on his own, strong vitals. He's a fighter, Dr. Bennett." Something broke loose in Lucas's chest. Relief mixed with joy, mixed with devastating regret. His son was alive, but would Olivia survive to meet him? Fighting for her life. The bleeding was worse than Lucas had anticipated. The placental abruption had caused significant damage. He worked with absolute focus, repairing tissue, cauterizing vessels, his team moving in perfect synchronization around him. "Blood pressure is stabilizing," a nurse reported. "Transfusion is helping." Lucas allowed himself one small breath of relief, but they were not out of danger yet. He continued working, methodical and thorough, refusing to rush The wheelchair felt unnecessary to Olivia, but hospital protocol demanded it. Lucas pushed her slowly through the corridors toward the NICU, neither of them speaking. The silence between them was heavy with unspoken words, with hurt that had calcified over 7 months of separation. They stopped outside the NICU entrance. Through the glass, Olivia could see rows of tiny incubators, each containing a precious life fighting to grow stronger. Her heart hammered against her ribs. "He is in the 3rd row," Lucas said softly. "Incubator 12. The nurses say he has your eyes." Olivia's breath caught. "You have seen him already?" "I checked on him every hour through the night." Lucas moved to stand beside her wheelchair, his reflection visible in the glass. "I could not stay away. Olivia, he is perfect." A nurse recognized Lucas and buzzed them through. The NICU was warm and dimly lit, designed to mimic the comfort of the womb. Monitors beeped softly, tracking tiny heartbeats and breathing patterns. Olivia felt tears building as they approached Incubator 12. There he was, Gabriel, her son, their son. He was small, barely 5 pounds, with a downy covering of dark hair and skin that looked almost translucent under the warming lights. His tiny chest rose and fell with steady breaths. One miniature fist was curled near his face, as if he was deep in thought. "Oh," Olivia whispered, pressing her hand against the incubator's clear wall. "Hello, my angel. Mama is here." "Would you like to hold him?" The attending nurse smiled kindly. "He is stable enough for skin-to-skin contact. It will be good for both of you." "Yes, please, yes." They helped Olivia into a reclining chair and opened her hospital gown. The nurse lifted Gabriel with practiced gentleness, placing him against Olivia's bare chest. The moment his warm skin touched hers, Olivia broke. 7 months of held-back tears flooded out as she cradled her son for the first time. "You are real," she sobbed softly. "You are here. You are safe." Gabriel made a small sound, his tiny body relaxing against his mother's heartbeat, the same heartbeat he had listened to for 9 months. Home. Lucas stood a few feet away, his own face wet with tears. The nurse glanced at him sympathetically. "Would you like to meet your son, Dr. Bennett?" Olivia stiffened slightly. Lucas noticed immediately and took a step back. "Only if Olivia says it is okay." She looked up at him then, really looked at him for the first time since waking. Lucas appeared as if he had not slept in days. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His surgical scrubs were rumpled, but it was the expression on his face that stopped her heart. Raw longing mixed with terror. The look of a man standing at the edge of everything he wanted and knowing he might not deserve it. "You can meet him," Olivia said quietly. "He is your son, too." The confession. Lucas approached slowly, as if afraid sudden movement might shatter this fragile moment. He knelt beside Olivia's chair, bringing himself level with Gabriel. Up close, the resemblance was unmistakable. The shape of the baby's nose, the curve of his ears. This was his child. "Hi, Gabriel," Lucas whispered, extending one finger. The baby's tiny hand reflexively gripped it, and Lucas made a sound between a laugh and a sob. "He is so strong." "He gets that from his mother." Olivia stroked Gabriel's back gently. "I carried him alone for 7 months. We learned to be strong together." The words were not accusatory, but they landed like stones nonetheless. Lucas bowed his head. "Olivia, I need to tell you what happened after you left. Will you let me explain?" She wanted to say no, wanted to protect herself from more disappointment, more hurt. But looking at Gabriel, at this tiny person who was half her and half Lucas, she knew they needed to clear the air, for their son's sake, if nothing else. "Tell me," she said. 7 months of searching. Lucas took a breath. "The day you left, I stood in that apartment for an hour after you and my mother were gone. Just stood there, replaying everything. Every word Mom said, every second I stayed silent. I have never hated myself more than I did in that moment." Olivia said nothing, just listened. "I went to your apartment 3 hours later. You were already gone. I called your phone, it was disconnected. I went back the next day and the next.
I contacted your firm. They said you had taken an indefinite leave, no forwarding information. You came looking for me? Olivia's voice was barely audible. Every day for 2 weeks, Lucas looked at Gabriel, not at her. Then I hired a private investigator. I needed to know you were safe, even if you never wanted to see me again. But you had vanished completely. No credit card usage, no social media activity. It was like you had ceased to exist. I went to stay with Aunt Rose. She lives off the grid mostly. No digital footprint. Smart, Lucas smiled sadly. Too smart for my investigator. He finally told me to give up, that if you wanted to be found, you would have left a trail, that I should respect your choice to disappear. But you did not give up? Never. I kept searching. I drove to every small town within 300 miles. I showed your picture to people. I must have looked insane. My partners at the hospital thought I was having a breakdown. Olivia felt something crack in her chest. She had spent 7 months believing Lucas had simply moved on, that she meant so little he had not even tried to find her. But he had tried. He had searched.